Hello, everybody from the north to the south to the east to the west. Welcome to this session on becoming Microsoft Teams Rockstar. My name is Gokan Ozcifci, and I am a product marketing manager at Valo Internet, and I'm glad to present you a few tips and tricks, a few drawbacks, a few advantages and disadvantages of Microsoft Teams, and how you can get truly the added value, the best value of Microsoft Teams in today's world. We know with COVID-19, it's a huge struggle, and a lot of organizations are going digital, and they're being transformed digital internally with all of those communication applications. And using Teams has a lot of advantages for your collaboration and communication into your organization. So today's session is going to be 100%, well, not maybe 100%, but 90% of demo, and we only have like 4 slides. I still need to explain you what Microsoft Teams is and how the architecture is built, and then we will just deep dive for 45 minutes on what Teams is. And at the end, I'll be glad to show you as well what Valo is being cooking behind the scenes to build his Teams offering. So first thing first, what is Microsoft Teams? Microsoft Teams is, in other words, a container that is using artifacts such as SharePoint for storing its files, using automation tools and Power Apps from the Power Platform to extend these experiences, using Planner or tasks, as we call it today, to have plans into one single view, using Skype for having conversations, or using the Skype for Business artifact for having conversations, audios, videos, using tabs for SharePoint framework solutions, Microsoft 365 groups for the security model, and so on and so on. So Microsoft Teams is truly a container of all of those artifacts within Microsoft 365, which gives you all the power of Microsoft Teams. It is one capability, one single screen, one experience that brings you all of those advantages across all of those artifacts in Office 365 or in Microsoft 365. One of the biggest questions I have is, hey, how does look Microsoft Teams, or what is the components of Microsoft Teams? And let me have or take my laser pointer now. This is a slide that I'm always referring to or showing to my customers, organizations, like, hey, this is a team in Microsoft Teams. And whenever you create a new team, well, and we will see that in the demo in a couple of seconds, you won't see anything strange happening. It's just one screen. It says welcome and your team is ready to go. But in the backend, way more complicated stuff is happening. Whenever you create a team, it will automatically trigger for you an Office 365 group, or as we call it today, a Microsoft 365 group. I still couldn't find a good logo to replace this one. So whenever we create a team, we get a group, and we know that every group that is provisioned is linked to a SharePoint site. So you will automatically get also a SharePoint site into that. You will get a shared mailbox for the conversations and the email, and also a OneNote notebook where you can share content information across your teams and channels. You still will get artifacts of Skype for Business, and a simple example is if you want to use PowerShell and manage your teams, some of those components still require the Skype for Business artifact. So there is in the backend still a few things from Skype done. So that's the reason why the logo of Skype is a little bit smaller than the 3 other ones. But this is like the main services that are actually provisioned for your group. What you can see is this is like a top to bottom line, and well, this is great because whenever you create a SharePoint site, it will configure for you an Office 365 group, but in no way, whenever you create a group, it will create a team. It won't create a team, actually. As you can see, there is no line coming from the group to Teams. So you have the option to teamify a group, and that we will see in a few seconds. But what you need to remember is, whenever you create a team, it will create a group and a SharePoint, etc., etc. But in no case, whenever you create a group, it won't create a team. Then the second wave is that you can extend that experience, the Teams experience, by using Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, or Power Virtual Agent. You could use any of those Power experiences to get the data, manipulate data, and bring them and show them into Microsoft Teams, right? You can even go outside of the Microsoft ecosystem and go to Google, Adobe, Dropbox, and connect with any of those connectors to Teams, get the data from those teams, and bring them into your channel and work and mash up with that data. So you are not only forced to use data that is into Microsoft ecosystem, but you can also go outside of the Microsoft ecosystem. And finally, under Azure, you can build your own application. You have a bunch of those services that you could use, and the one that we really use that follow is the pipelines and notification. As an example, if you want to push notifications to your mobile application, or if you want to even monitor the usage of your teams, or you monitor anything in Teams, well, you could use pipelines, right? So you have the out-of-the-box experience, the extension of that, and the building your own application. That is how I see how you could really use Microsoft Teams. But then Microsoft announced the private channels, and that's the reason why you will also see a little SharePoint site popping up somewhere, which is not group connected, right? It is not group connected. There is no line to the group. It is something standalone, and we will see that in a couple of seconds. Which is managed by Teams. It's not something that you have to touch on it or modify it. The data will be stored into that SharePoint site. You will be able to have your conversations in that private channel, but in no way you are responsible for that site. And you actually, technically, you could touch and do a lot of stuff on that site, but Teams will every 4 hours check for that site, see if there has been any modification, and if the case is yes, then he will apply his own settings. So it's a site that's meant to live alone and to stay somewhere in your tenant, and it's not group connected. Then one of the questions I literally get every single day is, Gokan, as a legacy on-premises administrator, I love backupping. Can I back up Microsoft Teams? Because that's how they think, or don't trust the cloud, because for them, if they cannot back up a tool, well, they are not handling it well, and they're not doing it well. So they want to back up everything from A to Z. And that's quite complicated. And my response to that is like, hey, it depends. Because as I said, every team you create will have his group and its SharePoint and Skype for Business and shared mailbox for all of those experiences. But you aren't using you aren't using the 100% of that into your experience. You're using the microservices. And let me give you an example. If you share a file into a site, then you're using the shared document of SharePoint. You're not even using all of the other features. You only use that simple artifact of SharePoint. If you share a file into a one-to-one chat, well, then you're using the Skype for Business, your personal storage into OneDrive. If you record a meeting, well, then the meeting will be sent to Stream. It will be encoded and bring back to you, and then you can check that meeting again into Teams. So you're not using the full capability of Stream. You're using a simple artifact that will do the job for you and bring it back into Teams. Then the question of, hey, can I back up? Yes, you can. You have a bunch of tools you can do that, but you would maybe need multiple backup policies and maybe multiple backup tools, because again, Teams is a container that actually uses every single artifact and microservice of those artifacts to bring all the power of Microsoft Teams that we have today. So why is there, or why was there a need for Microsoft Teams? And I think with the mobile first, cloud first era, there was a need for a central place where people could just work and bring their workloads to the cloud. And if you think how Teams works today and you want to build it on a SharePoint server environment, and I'm coming from a SharePoint world where I've been doing like for 15 years SharePoint consultancy work, we know that this is quite complicated. Like if you want to just use external users on SharePoint server, think about certificates, form-based authentication, VPN, tokens, etc., etc. It's a big hell to manage. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's quite difficult to do that. And the offerings that we get from the cloud, such as OneDrive, where you get 25 terabytes of free data, or the innovations such as AI, Delve, Project Cortex, SharePoint Spaces, the transformations with Power Apps, Power Automate, well, you need, as an organization, a secure, flexible, and scalable place where you can actually take your work, your workload, um, collaborate for that, and bring all those experience in the cloud. So that's the reason why I think there was a big need for Microsoft Teams. And you have a bunch of advantages. I'm not going to bring them all on that 1 hour session, but the fast provisioning engine, the intelligent bot ecosystem, the technical agility, being like you don't have to take care of the hardware. Microsoft is doing that for you. If there is like, we had a 75 million active users per day. Well, in a normal organization, you would be adding more memories, adding more servers, adding more CPU. Well, now it's Microsoft who is doing that, right? You don't have to do anything, and it's still working in your environment. And the anytime, anywhere access is still something that I'm really using every day. It's my life. Like whenever I'm traveling, whenever I'm driving the car, whenever I'm on vacation, I'm still able to see my content anywhere with any device, right? So that's also something which I really like. So that being said for Microsoft Teams, what it is, what you can do, the advantages. So let's deep dive now into the demo. Now I'm gonna open my demo environment, and this is how Microsoft Teams is looking whenever you begin an organization. So take the example, you're a newbie, you start an organization, the administrator should add you into a few teams. By default, you would have like your own team. You would have, maybe if you join the development team, have a dev team, a funny team, X team, Y, Z, any team. That's the job of the team owner or of the administrator, according to the guidelines of the organization, to add you into a few teams. And as you can see, in my environment, I have a customer team, a picture team, an intranet team, a regional director team, and a demo team, right? This has been done. I'm already part of that, and I can just switch from one team to another team and collaborate according to the things I have done in that team. But in case if you are not part of any team, well, according to your rights, again, not everybody can create a team. Because remember what I told you, like whenever you create a team, it will create a group, it will create a SharePoint site. A lot of organizations hate that idea. They still want to have a lot of governance on top of that, because if you are a multinational having 5,000 of co-workers, employees, and if they all create a team daily, it makes you 5,000 groups, 5,000 sites, 5,000 shared mailboxes, etc., etc. And that idea only, and I'm not saying like to create that, that idea only scares a lot of IT people. So it is quite possible that they block you from creating a team. And how they do that? It's with PowerShell. But in my environment, it's not blocked. So I can simply come here and say like, hey, I want to join or create a team. Then you will have three options. The first one is you can actually create a team from scratch. You can join a team by code. And then if you have like teams, and I will show that at the end of the demo with teamwork, with Valo teamwork, if you have a bunch of those active teams, well, you can join that team just by hitting on join the team. But from now on, we will just create a new team. And then you will get a pop-up like, hey, would you like to create a team from scratch? Or do you want to create a team from something? And that something is a group or a team. Remember in my slides, I said to you like this one, there is no way out by default that whenever you create a team, that it will create a team. Well, that scenario is being resolved with this one now. So if you come here and you have an Office 365 group or a Microsoft 365 group, as they call it today, which is standalone, which is not teamified, you can just hit on that button, and then you can create a team based on that group, right? Today I have 0 Office 365 group, which is standalone, so it's grayed out. So what I'm going to use is a team. So he will show me every team that I have just here, which I'm a member of. And it will say, okay, which one do you want to use? Okay, I'm going to take the demo site as a template and then give it a name. And I could do like M365, give it a name, give it a description, say what I want to copy. Hey, well, I want to copy the tabs, the team settings. I can also add the members, like bring all the members into that team as well. And I can also add the apps. I can choose about the privacy. I can make it a public and a private one. Unfortunately, you can't make an org-wide. It's just a public or a private. But then what people don't really read is this one. And I've seen a bunch of people using that system as a templating engine. Microsoft will come soon with a templating engine in Microsoft Teams. But this is only for creating the structure of your team, and no messages, no files, no content won't be copied. You need to set up tabs and connectors again, right? So please don't create a wonderful template with all of the content, all of files, all of connectors. You can't use that. It will just copy the structure and nothing as content, right? So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to create that. And it will take a few seconds to do that, because in the backend now, he is creating an Microsoft 365. I'm used to say Microsoft 365 group. It will create a group. It will create a SharePoint site, the OneNote, the Exchange, mailbox, etc., etc. And what you can see on my left side, it took a few seconds because he completely copied the same structure as I had under my demo site. And then you can see I have the same channels just coming here on the left side. What you can see here is I have also a hidden section where I'm part of a few other teams. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this, and I hope this time it will work. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, that's the reason why, because I'm the only owner standing in. Normally, whenever you leave that team, well, it should come here on the right side, and then you can just join that team from here as well. Okay, then you have a second option, join a team with a code. What's that? Whenever you have a team and you come under manage a team in your team, under the settings, you have something called a team code. By default, no code is associated with your team. But however, if you click on generate, well, Microsoft will create for you a code that you can copy and hand over to your internal people. And as it mentions here, guests won't be able to join a team with that code. A guest, what's a guest? A guest is a Hotmail account, a Gmail account. It's somebody who is not part of the organization, the Azure AD of the organization, right? It could be Contoso.com, it could be Amplexer.com, it would be Gokan.com, Valo, Intran.com, any of those, well, they won't be able to join. It should be somebody from your organization that will use that code and come here into that and paste the code to join that specific team. If I come again on my M365, well, maybe I'm going to choose the demo site under the manager team. Well, you will see the owners that I have into my organization or into my team, and then the members of that one. And as you can see, Kareem is somebody which is external because it has an Outlook.com email address. I can add the member from that screen, or I can simply come here on the three dots and say add the member from here on. As you can see, I can also manage tags from here in. So as you know, and I will show that in a few seconds, that you can add some tags to your team. And that tags actually can also be managed by this screen. As you can see, Gokan is part of 3 or more tags. What you can do is hit on that logo here, and then you could say, okay, Gokan, no, I'm gonna just remove him from all of those tags, and he's gonna only keep that one. And there we go, and Gokan is now only part of that tag. I'll be coming onto the tag part in a few seconds. I can define the role of my members. My Farouk, which is my brother, is actually in my tenant, so he can be an owner or a member. Somebody who is outside from the organization, well, unfortunately, he can only stay a guest. If you want to remove that user, you just have to hit on the X here. And if you want to just change the owner to somebody, you just have to modify it from here on the right side. On the channel side, you can see every single channel that you have just here. Into the left bar, you can see them here. You can make them available for you, for the members. If you have a description, you can see them from there. You can see the type, if they are standard or private channels, and then you can see the latest activity. The latest activity is quite important because Microsoft Teams, after 45 days of non-activity in a team, from you, from your employees, from your coworkers, from anybody, if there is an activity for 45 days, it will bring that site under the hidden section just here. And then it will help you remaining productive because you will only be seeing the teams that you are really working on that. So that's really important to see when was the latest activity on that one as well. What's tremendously good with Microsoft Teams is that you can see the teams, the channels that you have been deleted, and you can restore them. So I have one just here. It has been deleted like a few days ago, and I can just hit on restore, and then everything will be restored just into my team, and I can start using it again into my teams. Very simple. In a few clicks, you can do that. And that one, it will automatically come here into my list. And then I could just say, okay, show this for me. And then you will see that that one will just come here, right? Again, if you want to add a new channel, you can do it from here, or you can do it from here. We have a lot of drawbacks with channels, and I'm going to show that to you in a few seconds. The settings, I can choose for a team picture. I can choose the member permissions, such as enabling the channel creation, adding apps, allowing members to create and update channels, etc., etc. I can choose the guest permissions, what they can do. And as you can see, the list of the members is longer than the guest permissions, right? I can enable, disable dimensions. I can enable, disable the team code. Remember, enable, disable. I can also remove the code, and there won't be any code anymore connected or attached to that team. I can just hit on generate, and then I can see that and a new code being generated for you. Unfortunately, the bad thing with that is that you can't choose your own code. It's something that only Microsoft decides about the code. I can enable, disable, bring some moderation into memes, GIFs, etc., etc. And then tags, who can add tags, who can create tags, only the owners or the members. You have some analytics, and that's something new. Well, not the analytics part, but being able to deep dive into channels and say like, okay, I have a marketing channel. I want to see the last 30 days of analytics. Well, it will show you the analytics of the last 30 days with the number of users you have and the numbers of apps that are connected. So if I go to one that's being used quite often, and if I do like last 90 days, oh, still no data, yeah, makes sense. It's a demo environment, but normally you would be able to see like a curve just here of applications being used per channels. Then if I come back just here, and then you can see on the last slider, last part, the apps, you can see every single app that is connected to your team and that you're actually using, benefiting into your teams. And if you just want to disable or remove something, it's just here. You just hit on the dash, you just install the app, and then the app will be gone from your team. If you want to add more apps, again, you just hit as an owner just on more apps, and you can connect any app to your team. That being said, I promised you to show the tags, and therefore I'm going to maybe use the M365 to not confuse you. So that's also something new. Into a team, you can hit on manage tags, and then you can create a new tag. You could say like, okay, I have a SharePoint team, right? And I want to add that team. I want to add Gokan into that new tag. And every single time, whenever I mention the SharePoint team, I want to get notified. I want to send a notification to Gokan. So how does it really work is like this. I've created a tag which is called SharePoint team. And if I start a new conversation, and where did I just create it here? Just here, if I'm not wrong, the SharePoint, yeah, here. So if I come under the newly created team and I do like this, add SharePoint, and you will see that actually I have a new tag and the SharePoint team is now blue. And then I could say, hey, I have a question. Could you please reach me out on, and then give your phone number as an example. And then what you will see, you will get a special icon just on the right side, which says like, hey, the SharePoint team was mentioned, and Gokan will get the notification just here in the activity and say like, hey, somebody mentioned you with a tag, right? The bad thing with that is the following one. Let me show that to you. So I'm saying like, hey, SharePoint team, and then do something like F16. I'm also actually mentioning a channel. I will be mentioning the other channel as here. And let me see if I can, yeah, and I'm gonna mention my brother. I've question. So take the example that you're writing a very long text. And as you can see from the UI perspective, there is no difference which one is a team, which one is a user, and which one is a tag. And that's horrible because now I have like a very small text and I can understand which one is a team, which one is a user, which one is a channel, which one is a tag. That's very easy to understand. But whenever you have like a long text and a bunch of channels, a bunch of members, a bunch of tags, at the end, you don't know what to do. You're lost, right? You don't know. So what I've been saying is, well, you have to send that as a conversation, and then you can see that the tags are getting red, which is great because it gives you a different color, which helps you understanding how it works. And if I go with my mouse and hover on top of that, you can see that there is a new V card which shows me, hey, this is a tag group and it has one member. So what I'm saying to my customers, whenever you add a tag, and people who use actually Instagram or Twitter, we have the hashtag notification, right? So always saying like, hey, add a hashtag in front of the word, create that, and whenever you start a new conversation here, you could use the hashtag, which helps you understand that this is a tag. And now I can easily say F16, right? And now I know that the first part of my sentence is a tag, the second one is a channel. And that's how you can actually be productive. Now I don't have to search for what is what. I just can see, thanks to the hashtag, that this is a tag, and the people from that tag will get notified into my conversation, right? Then I also promised something else, and I can't remember anymore. I said tags, and I said, let me have a look. Oh, channels, yeah. Channels, way too important, extremely important to not show that to you. So, and whenever you create a team, it is a correct statement to say that every channel that you create is actually a folder into your SharePoint site to hold on documents. Let me explain that to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm here under the M365 and under the general or any other channel that you have here, you can just go under the Files tab Experience, which is a SharePoint, because people who have been using SharePoint, they will recognize the logos, they will recognize the ribbon where you can add some folders and documents, but you have that option just here, which is open in SharePoint. And when you hit on that, what's going to happen now is you will be leaving the Teams experience, coming to the SharePoint experience, and you will be into the shared documents library, where actually you will see all of those documents being created for you. I'm going to just move this to the right side and bring this to the left side to show you how it works. Now, what's happening in the backend? What we will do now in the 365, we will add a new channel. And then I will give it a new name, M365. And then you can just choose here if it's going to be a standard or a private channel. We'll move it with a standard one, and I'm going to add that. What's happening here is a new channel is being created for me. And if I just do a refresh on the SharePoint site, well, you will see that a new folder will be created, which is called M365. And whenever I just come under the Files Experience into my team and decide to create a new Word document, give it a name, Gokan's first document, right? Then what's going to happen is I'm going to leave the, and I'm going to maybe make this wider. I'm going to leave in the Teams experience. You can see that this is my document. I'm going to just add a few text and then close this, right? And I have my first document into my M365 channel. If I go back to my SharePoint experience, if I come under the M365, what you will see is the same document. So again, it's a correct statement to say every channel has his own folder into the SharePoint experience. Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new channel and we're gonna call it the same, M365. But then Teams is gonna yell and say like, oh, but be careful, you can't do that because the name has already been taken by another channel. You have to give it another name, which is absolutely correct. What you could do, and what I've seen a lot of, even Microsoft is doing that, is adding emojis behind channel names, right? So what I'm gonna do is, and I'm gonna search for the $, right? And now, suddenly, the error message has disappeared because it says like, okay, M365 is completely different than M365. So you can create that. Again, I could give a description, choose for the privacy. I'm choosing for the standard one, and I'm adding that. What's going to happen in the backend is a new channel is created for me. And if I go under the files experience, well, you would say like, hey, oh, wow, that's strange, isn't it? Because it shows me the document that I just created into another channel, into another folder into SharePoint. That's strange, right? So what we will do is just to check that we are talking about the same document, I am going to rename this. And I'm going to do like Gokan's documents. Now I did rename. Oh, I'm getting an error. Now this is not good at all. So what really happened in the backend, if I go to the SharePoint side and go again under documents, the provisioning engine from Teams to SharePoint didn't quite understand what actually the $ meant. So his SharePoint said, I already have the M365, so let's use this one. So that specific folder, M365, is being used by two different channels. And now that file is now in lockdown because he don't know what to do. He has two channels for one folder for one document. And this is where it can get dramatically bad for your organizations if they may allow emojis in channel names. And honestly, I still couldn't find a way to block emojis in channel names. But it would be really good if somebody could have a free way on how they could block the emojis into channel names. Because, and here is the magic, if I add a new channel and say again M365, and now instead of using the $, I'm going to use the heart sign and still leave it for standard privacy, you will see I will have a new channel. But now if I go under the files experience, now I don't see the file. That means that if I go to the SharePoint under the document, that after the refresh, that now he could create me the folder. And this, honestly, I can't explain to my customers. I can't explain on a correct way why the $ is okay and the heart is not okay and the heart sign is okay. And honestly, I even didn't test every single scenario because we have hundreds of emojis. And that's the only two I've been testing. One is showing, the other one is not showing. And this is where it gets really complicated to explain to my customers. Something else with the channels, something else with all of the files experience into SharePoint. So take the example that, okay, it is called the May 365 event, but Microsoft says like, hey, let's make it a bigger event in the APAC region, and let's not call it M365, but let's call it Microsoft 365, which is quite possible. You maybe want to do it something bigger, and then you just come here under the three dots and do edit channel, and you call it like, oh, I have a better idea. I will call it Gokan 365. Because you want to have a wonderful event all about Teams, and you say like, okay, let's call it Gokan 365. From a Teams perspective, whenever you do that, that's great. Gokan 365 heart sign will work. However, if you come under SharePoint and do a refresh, it will still remain. It will still be M365. Microsoft is working on that, and hopefully they will release this year. But please be aware that if you create a channel into Teams with a specific name, and please don't use my colleagues or dumb or I hate my boss or something like that into a channel, because it won't be renamed, it won't be changed into default structure into SharePoint. And it can get actually worse and better than that. So take the example that you also want to rename your team and say like, oh, M365 is not for us anymore, and we want to just rename that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the team, and I'm going to change this to Gokan 365, right? That's quite possible. It's going to be Gokan 365. I'm doing that. And from a team's perspective, again, wonderful. It has worked. And you can see from here, Gokan has changed the name from M365 to Gokan 365. However, again, if I come back and do a refresh into my SharePoint site, you will see that one, URL is still M365 and the name is M365. And again, I'm even not deep diving into the Microsoft 365 group name. I'm not even deep diving into the email. I'm not deep diving into X, Y, Z, any of those artifacts. This is simply from an end user perspective, where you can see that the URL is still M365 and that the name is still M365 and that still the folder is M365. So renaming a team, a channel, is still not that optimal with Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, unfortunately. Okay. If now you have your team, you did set up your channels, you have a bunch of those channels, and you decide to delete them. I will delete this one. I will delete this one. I will delete this one. So what people are just doing is like this. They never read what's actually in the pop-up, or they never listen what's happening in the backend. So they just continue deleting because they want to start from scratch. They just delete and delete this one as well. And finally, this one. And the last one, general. General is the only channel that you cannot delete. You just can use it, right? You cannot rename it, you cannot delete it, you have to use it. And what I'm saying to my customers is to leave the general space for the admin announcements or for the system announcements, because you will get this very annoying list of actions that has been performed into your team. There is a user voice where actually you can vote for bringing this capability of Microsoft Teams. And honestly, at Valo, we are running a global Teams with every vendor into that. And what's really bad with that is it even shows you the email address of the people you have been adding. So basically, whenever you have a partner network with more than 250 partners, well, partners can just copy the email address of their competitors, of their rivals into a country, which is actually not that good. So I would really love for Microsoft to remove that option as soon as possible, or actually give the option to enable or disable that option, so we are not giving that information to other people into the organization, right? So what you can do is, delete all of those channels. But again, if you come to the SharePoint and do a refresh, well, what you will see that the files are still remaining. I did a refresh and those files are still here. The end users basically don't understand that whenever you delete it from Teams, it is not deleted from SharePoint. The connection is deleted. There is no way anymore to contact that folder from that specific channel. But let's have a look what happens if we just create a new channel that's called F16, right? You can't. Although you have no channels with the name F16, it says you can't, and the simple reason is because the folder exists here. So if you do this, rename it, something like that, you will see that the folder will get renamed. You come back to your Teams, and then you just do a delete, do F16, or maybe I just need to cancel because it has some maybe local cache. Add the channel, F16, and it still claims that there is something going on with the name. Always be careful, because that's not really deleted. It's in a soft delete pending stage. You can still recover from that specific channel. As I showed you a few seconds ago, you can recover a channel. There is a folder still there. You can rename that folder, and then all the mess begins. What if you restore? What's going to happen with that restore? Because I did just rename the folder. It's a big governance issue. If you just open Teams for everybody in the organization and you let anybody do anything they want into your Teams, this can be actually pretty tricky. So that being said, if I go under my demo site under the general channel, well, I can start a new conversation. A new conversation. What drives me really crazy is this one. Hey, can you help me? Right? That's something, a message, a convo that an employee posts. And what people simply do is this one. Yes. And they just start a new conversation. How can I help you? And they just continue like, and this is something. I'm just, it's not easy to under. Like I can't even talk. It's like it's really driving me crazy. People starting new conversations per question they have, and I can't really blame them because the user experience is not really optimal because maybe they don't see the reply button. But I really would love to see replies coming here in. And what I actually say to my organizations is always use the format option just here, because you can add a subject. I have a question. And then you could simply ask your question here. My question is, and then what's really great is the word experience. You can just make it bold, underline, italic, bring some color, make it a paragraph. But what's really great with that one is the code snippet, this one. If you hit on that, you can add any code from any language herein into your conversation. And I'm really bad in coding, but I'm going to use HTML. And what you can see now is if I close the HTML tag, it will automatically close the tag for me. If I just do body, body is closed. If I do head, head is closed. If I do P1, P1 is closed. And I could say, my question is, how are you? And then if I insert that question, it will keep the same layout. It will keep the same structure as the HTML code. And then I could just send this as a question just here into my convo. What's tremendously good with something like that is that you can start a new conversation, or you can start a new announcement. A new announcement where you could say, I have a new CEO. And the new CEO is Gokan Ozcifci. He is taking over M365, right? You could do something like that, very simple. You could choose a color in the backend. I really love red. Or you can even add an image into that, and you can upload an image. And you could just say, okay, Jeff Teeper, he is also doing a keynote at the M365 event. And you could just choose an image, and that image will come as a background into your conversation. Then the second option is that you can let anyone reply, or you and only the moderators can reply. The main advantage of doing a moderation on some of the announcements is that some content, some convo is really sensitive, and that you want to avoid some jokes and you want to avoid some hard comments on that. It's sometimes a good idea to bring moderation. What I'm going to do is I will just say, like, everyone can reply, and then you can do the post in multiple channels. This is the reply to all experience as you have in Outlook, because honestly, and I will do that, I will go under my demo site, and I will publish that into the flight expenses, Complexer, F16, Ozcifci. And I will just hit on go. And now what you can see that actually everything is posted under every single channel, and you can see that the message is everywhere. And from an admin perspective, I can see where I did post that. You will see a list. The end users will only see the icon. They will not see where it has been posted. They will only see the icon. So what's going to happen is maybe somebody could say, like, ha, 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 I hated the former one, right? Well, this is sensitive information. This is something you want to avoid. So blocking commands is a good thing. And secondly, the commands are not replicated across channels. As you can see, that command is only available into this channel because there is no replication done cross channels. So take the example, you have a big announcement, you want to do it across 100 channels. Well, you have to keep track on every single comment. You have to keep track who has said what. And at the end, you'll get crazy and you will just stop searching for information. That's the reason why I'm saying like it has the same reply to all experience as in Outlook. If I come back again under general, and we know Teams is being done for breaking silos. Teams has been done for actually working better together. And you could have some people into organization who talk French. And I'm from the Europe, and I do speak a lot of French. And I could have a colleague which English is not that well, and he starts French. He could say, "Bonjour, pourriez-vous m'aider sur un sujet, s'il vous plaît?" And this is French, and I can't blame him. He doesn't know anything about English, and he can't speak proper English, so he texts in French. But with Teams, that's okay. Why? Because under the three dots, if the administrator has enabled that, you have the translate option. And now it will use the Azure translation services in the backend to translate any text. And he could understand that this text was from French. You can see translate from French. And he translates anything from me. Hello, could you help me on a topic, please? And that's the correct way. I did ask this in French. This translation is only visible for you. It is not because you did translate this that everybody into that team will see the translation. No, they have to hit on translate the message to see the translation. I can also revert to back and see the original message, or I can even send this to Outlook and start a conversation into Outlook, or forward this discussion to anybody else into my Outlook. I can send the to CC, BCC, and I will see that one into my team, where there will be even a link where I can just copy paste that to see that conversation into my team. Then it is quite possible that somebody does something like that. Dog, hamburger, cola. So dog, which is a dog, right? A hamburger and a Coke. We in France or in Turkey, we can call a Coke a cola, a Coca-Cola a cola, simple as it is. But it is possible that your colleague doesn't understand what a dog, hamburger, or cola is. So he could use the translate option, or he could use the immersive reader. The immersive reader, which is actually EDU functionality, or EDU EDU capability that we have in Teams, which has simple three panes. The first one is the text preferences, where you can see the text size. You can increase the text size, right? You can increase the spacing for better visibility. You can change the font. You can change the theme. You can even enable or disable to show the verbs, adjectives, etc., etc. No rocket science at all. However, if we come under the reading preferences, well, I can enable or disable the picture dictionary. And then what's the magic here? Oh, maybe I just need to translate this into English because it's United States focused only. Well, if I come now, because my text now is purely in English, you can see that the picture dictionary is now showing me what a dog is, the translation in French, and then even show me a picture. If I come to the hamburger, well, it shows me the word in English. I can listen to that. I can listen to the French version, and it shows me what the hamburger is. However, if it comes to something dialect or something local, which is, and let me call that proper English or correct English, well, then it doesn't recognize what it means. It will just show you the translation and how you can read it. And this is unfortunately very, very, very English focused, because if I translate the whole document in Dutch, and there we go, he understood that dog meant hond, and that's correct, but now he doesn't show the picture. However, now the hamburger is being translated correctly to a hamburger, but now it doesn't. It shows the picture. The only reason why I think it does that, because hamburger is written by the same name, hamburger, in Dutch, so the image is being showed. Dog is hond, So there is a mismatch between those two words, so the image is not being shown. That's the only thing which comes into my mind with that. Okay, this is like the immersive reader with Microsoft Teams. Now this is Microsoft Teams in 50 minutes. What you can do, the files experience, the SharePoint experience, the conversation experience, where actually I didn't even go really deep dive because you can even start a new Meet Now option. I even didn't show you the private channels as an example. I could talk for hours and show you every single detail of Microsoft Teams. However, I would really love to show you also what we at Valo have been building. And remember, I told you that if you have a team, you can also join a team without giving a code or without creating a one. At Valo, we also have something called Teamwork, which is 100% integrated with Microsoft Teams. And you can see every single group that you are part or teams part of. And whenever I just hover on that, you will see this is a SharePoint site, this is the Microsoft Teams, this is the team that I'm a member of. And the tremendously good thing with that is if you hit on the three dots, well, you can see and go to the SharePoint site, to the teams, to the files, to the planner, and even go outside of Microsoft ecosystem and go to Jira, right? And you can also see teams that are being archived, but I can still go to the SharePoint, to the files because they are in read-only, and I can see that. I can create a new group or a new site, templating. Remember, I told you that Microsoft is bringing some templating engines. With Valo Teamwork, you already have that. You can create a new team, a new project, a new steering group, all templates by default. You just have to select one of those templates, give the information just here, if it's allowed for external user, yes or no, and then finish it. And in the backend, everything will be done for you. You can search, filter therefore, filter for the category, filter for the state. And what's also tremendously good is that you can discover groups. The first pane is for all the groups that you are member of. This one is actually for all the groups that you are not member of. And I can also see the private teams, which is not the case with Microsoft Teams. Now I know that there is a Proyecto or a Project Com Teams, which is private. And as you can see, there is no three dots. The one which is public, well, I could simply join the group because it's public, right? I can just join that. But if you have like private teams, well, you can join that. You can see the owners. You can contact them to ask to get access to that, but you cannot join that specific team because it's not part of the option to join them because it's all private. You can see the documents that you have been working on, your latest documents, the documents of your group. You can see all the lists into Teamwork, and then you can also see the discussions going around into your group, into your Yammer, into your SharePoint, and you can see all the replies from everybody into that one as well. And finally, also a Teams application we have is Valo Idea Management, and I will just show it in a few seconds. You can have all of the ideas or the identification tool into Teams where you can submit an idea, you can see existing ideas. I can just hit on one of those ideas. I can see the submitter of that idea, the status, the category, and I can even like an idea, and then I can just jump into the Teams discussion and continue my discussion under Teams, right? And if you just come under the analytics, well, you can see a bunch of analytics, again, also of all of your ideas, or your ideas with the time frame of this week, 4 weeks, or the last year, and then you can choose all of your teams and then see all the analytics of that one as well. This is what we do. This is what we build with Teams in the backend from Teamwork for governance perspective and also from an identification perspective. Sebastian, which I'm pretty sure that everybody knows, Sebastian Lever is also building the Valo intranet tool, which will give you actually a dashboard with all your news, where you will actually also have a SharePoint site where you can also see every single web part, where you can see updates from your intranet, and you will have a unified search where you can search for your SharePoint documents, where you have the filters coming from the Office FPNP, etc., etc. Only a few minutes left. I really want to thank you for listening to this webinar, And I also have a gift for you all. We have a free ebook, and I really hope that you can see it on my screen. You can download that ebook. That's for free. That's a Microsoft Teams ebook, where you can actually understand in a way better way how the private channels are working, how the integration is done with SharePoint, and what the 10 hidden features are of Microsoft Teams. So you can actually boost your knowledge, boost your productivity, and become a Microsoft rockstar with Microsoft Teams. I really hope that you at least learned something today. I enjoyed presenting Microsoft Teams. And if there are any questions, I'll be glad to taking them.